Over here, the buyer says, in this scenario, the buyer says, look, either to the seller, I want your property, I've saved up $10,000, will you offer terms? Will you provide the financing? Will you carry paper for me? What's paper? This note. The note's actually written on a piece of paper, right? You sign it, gets notarized, whatever. Will you carry for me? Either I don't want to go to the bank and get a loan, or I can't. You know, my credit score is not good, I had a bankruptcy, I had a foreclosure, whatever. I can't get a loan right now, but I have enough money to buy this house. So, or the seller says, yes, I will. So the seller actually steps over here and okay, they become the bank. Okay, this is kind of weird, but the seller said when they offered seller financing, they become the bank on property they already own. Do they actually go over and get a loan from the bank and give it to the buyer since the buyer can't get their own? No, that's not what happens. The seller becomes the bank. They morph. This is seller bank, okay? The seller becomes the bank on their own property. And so the buyer says, okay, I'm going to give you my down payment of $10,000. And I'm hoping that you, seller bank, are going to lend me your equity. You have $100,000 of equity in your property. I gave you $10,000 in a down payment. Now you have, I really owe you $90,000 more, but will you lend me your equity over time? And the seller says, okay, I'll do that. So the seller, who's acting as the bank on their own property, gives the buyer, loans them their equity. The bank over here loans actual money, or I don't know, little bits and bytes and electronic data, right? That's really what it is. But they lend money. Over here, the seller, this is the same person, right? Seller, owner of the property, seller as the bank. The seller loans equity. How are we going to treat this? So now what do we do? How do they loan equity? And what do we, oh, okay, well, let's do the numbers. $90,000 of equity, and the seller says, look, I'll carry this for you at 6% interest. I'll carry for 30 years. I'll give you 360 months to pay this back to me, and that will be a monthly payment of $539.60. Same, right? So in exchange for that, does the seller just go, hey, no biggie, I trust you to pay me? No. What are they going to want? If I do this for you, if I lend you my equity, and what I want is the same as what the bank wanted. I want a note. And what does the note say? The note says, I, the buyer, promise to pay you, the seller, $539.60 for the next 360 months. But if I don't, you can take my property. Okay? And you can foreclose on me just like the bank would. So here we have seller lends equity, bank lends money. Note is exactly the same. This is an institutional note. This is institutional paper. This is a private loan, private terms, and this is private paper. Okay? But they're exactly the same in so many regards. And so that's how it works. Then everybody's happy. And the seller gets, on this side, they get their $10,000 down payment, and then they get a $90,000 note which is they're $539.60 a month, and probably they're pretty happy to be making 6% if their only other option was to take the $90,000 and stick it in a 1% CD at the bank. So here is the seller being able to sell the property at a price that they want and they think is fair, and they're making 6% on their money, and it's secured by a property that they know, right? This is the security for the note, the collateral, and they're happy with that. And a lot of people are saying, I can't make 6%. I don't trust the stock market. I don't trust Wall Street. I don't trust the government, anything. I just want my money secured by real things I can touch and smell and go and walk on, things that I know and trust. And so that's why the seller could be very, very happy. Obviously the buyer's happy. He didn't even have to deal with a bank to get into this property. So here we have, that's what owner financing, seller financing is. We can also see that's how we get a note business. Now this bank is holding this note over here in the institutional side of things, and over here the seller is holding a note, a private note on the private side of things. Okay, so if that's enough for right now, we'll take it up a little bit later.